future of energy is really driven by how many people we're going to have and what the living standards for those people will be. We see strong growth in all of those components, so we see a strong growth in energy demand out into the future. We think things like oil and gas will have a strong role to play, particularly as they facilitate key energy services in transportation, chemicals, power generation. But we also see a lot of changes going on these days as well too. We see decreasing costs for things like renewables, particularly in a place like Mexico here, where we're seeing strong growth in things like wind power and things of that sort too. So obviously Mexico's been an extremely important country in terms of oil and gas production for a number of years. And there's been a lot of dynamic action going on. The energy reform laws here have been an interesting sort of stimulus for I think, a renewed growth in the energy sector, or the oil and gas sector here. And we think that's a strong push for growth going forward, particularly as we see more and more countries look to invest, like ExxonMobil, going forward. But it's also a lot of other things we see change as well too. As I mentioned before, we see things like decreasing wind costs, and particularly Mexico's got, I think, pretty significantly good resources there, where we see ample growth for renewables going forward over time. So when I was a student or getting degrees in physics and math and then geophysics, I don't think I could have imagined what a career in ExxonMobil or the energy industry would have been. What I'd say is that for students out there and people getting degrees, it's important to get your basics and your fundamentals, and sort of say, as I've come into a company like this, I've had a lot of opportunities to work on a lot of different topics that I wasn't necessarily specifically trained for. So I started as a geophysicist working on production and exploration topics, but then I've transitioned and worked on a number of different key issues facing the industry. So things like understanding climate change and its role in terms of impacting policies in the future of the oil and gas industry, as well as long-term energy economic modeling to be able to think about sort of what kind of investment decisions we want to make as a corporation. So I think that the background I have in working, coming from a STEM sort of field and having that sort of basis to sort of be analytically driven, but working in an industry that's willing to take people and say, you know what, I think you're smart enough, or you have these sort of skills, we're willing to let you work on a range of different topics. And I think particularly energy, as we've been sort of talking about here, is an area that's pretty dynamic these days, and there's going to be a lot of changes over the next couple of decades.